Welcome on back, everybody, to episode 133 of Streaming with the Mouse, where today we are talking about the season, I'm going to quote season because that's what Amon said, finale of Miss Marvel on Disney+. Super fun episode to talk about today. Not going to let my biases get ahead of us. Way better than episode 5, but very excited to talk about this one. Sit back, relax, let's just stream with the mouse. Welcome back, everybody, to Stream with the Mouse. My name is Cam, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-pilot, the Brian to my Bruno, Cliff. Cliff, say hello to nice people.
You could have finally spoiled it and said the Carol to my Kamala.
I could have.
You could have, but you did not. I am good. I am very happy this landed on its feet. I was tweeting a lot about it last night. I have one. I only have a single gripe. I know you have a rebuttal to it. Well, it'll be a fun discussion, but I am excited to talk about Miss Marvel season finale. Season finale.
Before we get to it, why don't we break down some news? Because I just want to talk about this. So
I know. We'll go quick. If you're a K-pop stan or whatever, BTS, the big worldwide band, has inked a Disney streaming deal where they're going to be adding new original shows featuring the band on Disney+. I will not be watching, but good for them. As always, people keep talking about when Thor and Love and Thunder will be on Disney+. Just go watch it in the theaters. A new live show is coming to Disney+. Dancing with the Stars Disney+, with hosts Alfonso Ribeiro and Tyra Banks. Don't have much information on it. That was just announced earlier. I think Alfonso was at the celebrity golf tournament that the PGA put on this past weekend. I think that's where he announced it. I also will not be watching that. I am not a Dancing with the Stars person.
Yeah.
And I believe that's it. We restructured our whole schedule concept, so we have our whole till I think November planned. So you're stuck with us for a while, and a lot more streamlined. But we will not be filling you in on that. But if you have been on our social media, the next 2 weeks we have Miss Marvel episode finale today. Next week we have the final look at Star Wars Celebration, or finally breaking down.
The look.
And oh god, what's the last one? And we'll be
Disney
breaking
Plus
down the Disney Plus at the Emmys. A good year for them. We'll be giving who's nominated, and the more important part, our own opinion, our predictions on who will be winning most of those categories. But it is time. We're doing this. I'm glad it ended this way. I'm going to keep saying that. But I am very content with the ending. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm very content with the ending.
I would say I am as well. In last week, for last week's episode, we did the 4 and 5 combination, and we did the episode 4 and episode 5 combination, and we talked about 3 positives, 3 gripes we had with it. This one, it's going to be a top 5 again, because we'll talk about that. I know Cliff has a gripe, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But Cliff, you want to start off with your number 5 on your top 5 of episode 6 of Miss Marvel?
I'm going to talk about what I tweeted last night, and it's more of a Phase 4, even more specifically Disney Plus show related, where Phase 4 has been killing it with the costumes. In my personal opinion, this is the second best costume introduced in Phase 4, behind Falcon's Captain America suit, because that is hard to beat. You can't beat how perfect that is. But it is just such an incredible suit. The significance, and I really like how the mom gave it to her. As it was just nice. The mom had a very good redeeming quality throughout the show, where she really did learn, and they really got to know each other. But I don't know, the colors are just like perfect. They picked like a great off color of each. Well, the red's the same, but it's a nicer, like slightly lighter blue, and just like the way it looks. I don't really know how exactly to explain it, but overall it's just this incredible costume for her going forward.
I can explain it. It looks exactly like it does in the comics without it looking like it's a comic book. You can actually, it's same thing with the Falcon. Yes. Or, excuse me, I'm sorry, with Captain America. It's believable that this person can be running around in this costume without it looking funny or weird. it's very believable in this thing because it comes directly from the comics and it's not done in a cheap, cheesy way.
Exactly. And I don't think we've ever really seen like cheap and cheesy. I can't really think if Marvel has any cheap and cheesy ones.
Some of the Hawkeye sucked. That one, I think it was, I don't know if it was Avengers or
Hawkeye just
Ultron.
never understood it. It was the same with early Sam, where it was like he was just in like camos and short sleeve shirt.
No, but Clint had that like
That's
weird
true.
robe thing. That was terrible. That jacket.
That was Age of Ultron, wasn't it?
That's what I thought. It was.
I mean, we don't even talk about Age of Ultron, so it's fine. It's fine. But what is your 5?
So my number 5 is I think I said this last week. I thought it was very predictable how the finale was going to go. That Cameron was going to like blame Kamala a little bit. They were going to run at it from damage control. But my number 5 that I don't think I really predicted, but I'm glad they went this route, is that Kamran, yes, he did some not great things, not terrible, because obviously he was protecting himself and he was angry and stuff and trying to understand these powers. But my number 5 is I'm glad they let Kamran escape. I'm glad it wasn't a situation where Kamala had to kill him or anything like that. Is that Kamala actually got it? Be like, I understand you're mad. Relax. We work on these powers. I got you away so you can go with the Red Daggers. I know they don't like the clandestines that much, but like, listen, like you gotta trust me on this. You can escape. I do not want you to be captured right now. Like, please do this. And they very easily could have had a situation, I think, where Kamran turns totally evil, which I don't think would have been earned if he turned totally evil. I thought the way he was, where he was just very anxious and upset at the whole situation, was very earned and deserved, where you could have him like almost hurt all those people because his like anger gets the most of him and he's not sure how to control these powers because he had them for like maybe a couple hours at this point. So the fact that he was able to escape and has that redemption story set up, most likely, I'm assuming, for season 2, I think it's great. So I was really happy that Kamran got to escape without any arrest or being harmed or anything. So I'm excited to see him work with the Red Daggers potentially.
My only real complaint with Kamran this episode was his CGI powers looked awful. There was a couple rough ones. There were some they chose like the worst color combination to go like to complement Kamala's like mystic colors, and it just didn't work great. But it's true. I'm not going to talk about him because like he was just confused and angry, and it's a little weird kind of thinking back to episode 5 and like the clandestines whole thing was getting home, and in the end she's like, no, I'm going to kill myself for my son that I literally left behind so he could rot in prison. I don't know.
Oh, we got confirmation she actually did sacrifice herself for the greater good, which I was confused about, so that was great that we got that confirmation.
Yeah, it was weird. The clandestines were poorly
written.
They
sucked.
This was a show based on Kamala with 2 very extreme villains that weren't necessary in either concept, kind of. Like, They proved the point. It was a stark good versus evil. Yeah. Where it's very hard. I mean, you're already having a teenage girl come to terms with, like, being different. Like, having her have a complex villain doesn't make a ton of, like, it adds more complexity to the story, but they should have chose a lane. That would have been kind of funny. So that would have, like, choose a lane, like choose one or the other, or tone down the extremism of one of them. Right. It's fine because again, this show wasn't, and that's why I keep saying how great this show is. This show's not about the villains, right? And they have a lead that can just that's who the show's about, right? Like. And that was important. But my 4 is the gang getting back together. And I really enjoyed seeing how Nakia gets over not being told that Kamala is Lamplight or whatever she's called, whatever they're calling her at the time. But more so, I really like how Zoe kind of comes back. She actually understands in the end, like, she got popular, she became internet famous, and then she realized, like, no, this, like, Kamala literally saved my life. Right. Maybe she was a good friend, and I ditched her when we went to high school. And seeing the whole gang get together and kind of like have that like Scooby-Doo-ish like fun plan to beat the villain. That was fun because that's where an extreme villain is fun to go against because you have damage. Was it damage control or was it aim? You have damage control.
Oh, AIM would have been sick for
AIM
this.
would have been a good
Sorry,
choice
you're
for
right.
that.
Sorry.
I think they should have, because Damage Control is really just like about cleaning up, and now you have them leaking into, oh, clean up the superheroes. So, well, we won't talk about that. AIM would have been cool for that. But you have the gang come up with this like wacky plan to defeat them in a fun way, and that's what was so great. And when it had to be serious, it was. But with the gang, it worked really well together, and they're all going to make very good supplementary characters moving forward.
Yeah. Which that's funny that you bring that up because my number four is a little bit different, but basically the same thing. It's the community coming together. So it wasn't just like Bruno and Nakia and Zoe and Amir coming together with Kamran and Kamala in the high school. It's everyone. Like when the whole community comes out, the parents, the sheik, everyone comes out, and they all do that rush scene where they surround Kamala. So they confuse the damage control agent so that way she can escape and run away. It's really cool because that's a big part of the Miss Marvel character and story. Is like, yes, it's a city, it's Jersey City, but we're so used to stories in New York that even though this is a big city in Jersey City, this community is very tight knit and close together. Everybody knows everybody, and for them to all come around and like put Kamala up like this is our hero kind of thing. And obviously some people know it's Kamala, a lot of people don't. For them to come together when Kamala saved Kamran to escape through the hole to go back to Pakistan with the Red Daggers, and then they all crowd Kamala so nobody knows where she is. Even the police officers block out the damage control agents. I thought that was really special. And obviously too, you get Kamala's friends and her brother helping out in the high school, but then it got even more than that, right? Like you said, that Scooby-Doo aspect, but then you have that whole community on the front lines like, no, don't hurt her, like she's helping, what are you doing, you idiots, like she's helping. I thought that was really cool because a lot of times when there's these big superhero things, everybody's like, get back, and these guys were able get to be a part of the community and help Kamala escape so her identity is still kept a secret for now.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
So that's my number four.
That's a good one. My three goes a little bit into your it branches in where the distinction of damage control, where you end up figuring out it's pretty much turns into damage control isn't bad in air quotes. They're setting it up for them to be a lot more complex, where it's like, oh, they still have rules they definitely follow, but more so they care about their image. And who was going for Kamala and Cameron at the end were an extremist outlier that disobeyed orders. And I thought that actually, like to me the biggest complaint is the clandestines. That to me is the issue with the show, where damage control is extreme in the comics. They're assholes. Let's just be 100% honest. And I liked the way they did it because I can't stand that lawyer guy. I can't stand him. He's so good, and I'm really hoping he's going to be in She-Hulk. I just hope he keeps popping up as like a punchable face in the MCU and just be so annoying to the main characters. That would be great. But having this extremist counter cell of damage control try to literally murder 2 children.
Yeah.
That's not where great. Not great, but that's where the extremism is okay. And it really added to the you really even were like, yeah, when she got fired at the end, you're like, perfect.
Can I bring something up?
Yeah.
This is where I was complaining last week about staying in your lane with the villains. Do you even know her name?
The woman?
The woman. Do you know her name?
No.
If they stayed in their lane and we had damage control as the main villain, I would know her name was Diva. The only reason I know right now is because I just looked it up because I was like, oh crap, I actually don't know her name. And it's because we were with damage control, then we were with the clandestines, and then we're back with damage control, and I didn't know what her name was. So just go. Sorry that I interrupt, but we don't even know her name because of the no lane thing. That sucks. But I'm glad they still got together for this. But you're right. Damage control could have been a lot of a better villain. They could have explored these areas more like they do in the comics of them being a-holes and whatnot. It could have been so much better, and that's what sucks. Is it was fine at the end, but it sucks we didn't get that throughout the whole show.
I think they're setting up damage control as a really good street level villain because we have a lot of street level villains coming up. spoiler alert for people, Comic-Con's coming up next week, and there is a rumor that Charlie Cox will be introducing a Daredevil show.
Which would be
We will
awesome.
see. I feel like you can't really spoil Comic-Con. I don't really care about, like, I don't care about the spoilers, I just want the information. Maybe if you're there, but that would be a great villain for Charlie Cox to fight, where he works like helping damage control on the law side, but then goes after all the people. Like Charlie, I mean Daredevil's a great villain, or not villain, great hero for low level street crime, and it seems like they're pushing damage control to be that low level, like on the street, similar to like the Bros from Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of street level stuff coming up, which I think is going to be good for Marvel.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if, like, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a freaking point in this because I know I'm going to bring it up. But, like, I'm wondering if, like, damage control or, like, a subset of damage control, including this woman Diva, are going to be part of, like, this anti-mutant reform coming up, kind of like we see in the X-Men comics, where they create those big robots whose names I'm blanking on right now, from Days of Futures Past. Not Sentinels. I forget what they are.
Sentinels. They're Sentinels.
What am I thinking? I'm thinking of Celestials from that.
Yes.
So Sentinels, yes, that create the Sentinels like that. Like I'm wondering if they'll turn into that. And we'll see more damage control in the future, but we'll see. But so that's your number 3, right?
Yes.
All right. My number 3 is, I had a little bit tough time picking if this was going to be 3 or 2, but my 2 is just really heartwarming, so I'm going to leave it at 2. So my number 3 is the speculation that we get to talk about now about what the heck happened in that end credit scene. So obviously Kamala's there. She gets chastied by her mom that she should be doing her science homework. The Bangle does this weird thing. All of a sudden she disappears. She like apparates for, I'm going to do another Harry Potter reference. She like apparates. Then all of a sudden Captain Marvel is through her closet door, about 10 feet away. So what the heck just happened? We get to speculate about that now. And when I originally watched it, I was like, "Oh, wow! They did her shape-shifting abilities." Because in the comics, when she's an Inhuman,
that's what I thought too.
Yeah. However, I'm starting to lean that that's not what happened here, and the reason I'm leaning toward that is because I think they were very intentional with the way that they had Brie Larson do this. And I was super. And this is another part of my thing. I'm so excited we got Brie Larson in this. I knew it was just for an end credit scene. We all kind of assumed it was going to happen, but I'm glad we got her in this. But also, glad we got her where she didn't actually meet Kamala. So in my head, I was like, okay, was that Kamala using those powers that she just didn't know about? Or I think somehow they just transplanted where they were. So I think Kamala was wherever Captain Marvel was, and Captain Marvel's now where Kamala was. Because I think if they were doing something where Kamala shapeshifted into Captain Marvel, I think they would have done something very like very comic booky or very TV, where she like looks in the mirror and is like, holy cow, like what is this? Like why am I Captain Marvel? Why do I look like Carol Danvers now? Where I think they intentionally just had her like look at her hands real quick, but then just look around the room and see all the posters of her, meaning Captain Marvel. And I think they just switched places where they were. I don't think that she transported herself. I think that Captain Marvel is where Kamala is in Kamala's room, and Kamala is wherever the heck Captain Marvel is. And maybe that's a part of the Marvel's TV show, is trying to figure out what just happened, what their connection is. I don't know. But we'll see. But I'm glad we get to speculate on that until the Marvels comes out in 2023.
Yes. I saw a TikTok and it was so good. The way she like looks at her hand when she transports, apparate's a good word for that too. We know that the other bangle was lost. The other or bracelet or whatever it is was lost. And what if it was lost on another planet? Right. And the reason it's reacting, so people pointed out that the original Marvel had these 2 bracers that when he like clinked them together, something would happen, or he could travel or whatever, or transport or teleport, whatever. So what if Carol Danvers was holding and found the other bracer?
Oh, I love that.
And when that's why they were both had the color. So there's multiple things here.
Oh, I love this.
Where you're gonna have to think about Kamala having both bracers. She's gonna become a lot more powerful because she's gonna have both of them together, and that also sets it up. I like the look for Brie, for Carol Danvers.
Looks great.
She looks great for this, and it's really funny. She does the like, "Oh crap" moment, and obviously Kamala's probably tweaking being in like some random alien planet, which is hilarious.
So you think that's Carol, not Kamala,
That is, I think that is,
I do too.
I think
I
that
love
is
that
Carol.
theory about the second bangle being in play here. Because then what I'm
Yes.
wondering is, let's say she touched that, she didn't have the bangle. So now is Kamala's bangle lost? Like maybe that's another part of it too. Like that's very interesting, Cliff. I really like that.
I really like that. Oh,
Shout out that TikTok
I should
user.
probably shout out the TikTok user. The official Megs.
Shout out to the official Megs. I love that theory.
It was very good. I really like
awesome.
that theory. My number two, I'm gonna do 4 and 1. I'm gonna do my complaint now. You'll have your rebuttal. I know you will. My number two is a complaint, and it's making her the first mutant in the MCU. We can talk about what she should have been, what they were trying to sell, blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. I just think Kevin Feige has a personal vendetta against Inhumans, and I think that Inhumans could have been a good reacclimation. They could have had a good reacclimation into the MCU, especially with the reception Black Bolt had in Multiverse of Madness. And I thought, I mean, now it's setting up a lot of interesting things where, like, why didn't Kamala have her mutant powers prior? Like, that was the whole point of the Terrigen Mist, where they lie dormant until they're exposed to it. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it fully. I think that there was a lot of issues around power-wise, and I mean, yes, the Inhumans were created to just be not an adversary, but be against. They're like a nega X-Men. They're a different form of like Empire, of different humans that can do special things. And I also feel like just like they're very much basing her power on like other universe mystic powers, where I feel like that doesn't work. Like, I don't know. We're gonna trust the process, but I wish they just stuck with the Inhumans. Personally, I think it would have been fine. Go ahead. Yes, I know. Go ahead. Tell me all the issues with it.
Here's the thing. I hate the phrase "first X-Men" in the MCU, and the reason for that is because. So, hold on. I'm going to do my 1, and then my last one will be my 2, because my 1 is this. Kamala is a mutant. The fact that reveal was awesome. So I'm going to get to my...
They also didn't tell her. They didn't tell her.
She got there.
She found out watching the show. Like,
no. No, she didn't find out watching the show.
I was going to say, they made it seem like that.
She found out, like, right before, basically. That was the line she was going to say. Okay. Or that she was going to hear. I think she found out before Bruno, because the guy that played Bruno, I think it's Matt Lintz or whatever, he found out like as he was about to deliver the line, this is what you're going to say. Poor Lisa, when I heard the word mutation, and then, oh my God, I said, holy crap. And then when you hear that, da-da-da-da-da-da, one of my favorite anime shows of all time, hearing that X-Men animated show music, which we already heard Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, again, hearing that in live action was awesome, confirming that this is the first mutant that we see, that's the key word, in the MCU, or meet in the MCU, is awesome, because Kamala is no way the first mutant. I think at this point, there are obviously thousands and thousands of mutants probably throughout time and history. Is they're hidden, but maybe now that Kamala is out here using these powers, maybe now they're going to come into the forefront. So that's why I think of that. I love that she's a mutant. Obviously, would have been cool if they kept the big powers and kept that she's an Inhuman. Yet for comic book accuracy, yes. However, the reason that Kamala was even created was because Kevin Feige wanted to do something with the Inhumans. The Inhumans were never supposed to be that crappy TV show. It was supposed to be a big movie. And that's why Marvel Comics created a character that could have superpowers that would serve as like a really cool Inhuman that people would want to get started into. If there was no push for an Inhumans movie, Kamala probably wouldn't have gotten made, and if she did, she would have probably been an X-Men. Let's call a spade, because the Inhumans just aren't popular. Kamala was the way to try to get the Inhumans popular. So I don't care that she was not an Inhuman, because the only reason she was created was to push a movie that never happened. Okay, so like I like that she's a mutant. I like that this is how we're introducing them into the MCU besides Professor X in Multiverse of Madness. I think you could easily have Kamala be an Inhuman in another universe, which I think would be kind of cool to explore if you had a Miss Marvel who was actually an Inhuman like the comics. I think that would be cool to explore. I'm so happy she's a mutant. We're finally getting it in the MCU. I get what you're saying about the Black Bolt reaction, Cliff. I think that can't be used as like a thing because this show has been filmed way longer than Doctor Strange has been out in theaters. So I think you don't know what the reaction is going to be about Black Bolt at that point. So I think that's tough to say, where you obviously had to have this filmed, edited, and whatnot. But I do get your point there, at least for that. I don't care that she's a mutant or not. I care more actually about her powers than I do about what you're going to call her, a mutant or an Inhuman.
That's the thing, and I will actually say this on record. If if they kept her in big in powers and made her a mutant, I would have been fine with it. That would have been fine. If like they gave her like her hands increase in size, like if she can do all that her and big in powers do, yes, that would be fine. Like keep one aspect, keep one cornerstone of the character. Well, they did. They kept her.
The only thing I really...
I feel like in Big in Powers really fit what the X-Men are. Like, I feel like it fits more than, like, the pretty crystals. Like, she did do in Big in Powers just as, like, a crystalline form instead. Yeah. But if it was, like, the more human-esque, I feel like that would have fit really well for the X-Men.
My only thing is I don't want... The only nerve I have about the mutant thing, and it's not like anything I'm against, it's just I'm just nervous. I do not want Kamala to be a part of the X-Men. I want her to be her own. You can be your own thing while being a mutant. Because I do not want her to get overshadowed once you get classic characters like Storm and Wolverine and Cyclops and Beast and Nightcrawler and all them. Once they come into the fold, and Professor X and Jean Grey, I just don't want her to get overshadowed. So I want her to be a mutant that's not an X-Men, kind of like how she's an Inhuman, who she does some stuff with the Inhumans, but for the most part, she's her own standalone character in her series. I want that to be a continued thing. I do not want her to be a part of the X-Men. But I'm fine with her being a mutant. But the fact that this is how they're going to introduce mutants into the MCU besides Professor X was awesome. Again, the music cue, poor Lisa, I kept going, holy crap, click the 10-second rewind button. Da-da-da-da-da. Holy crap, 10-second rewind button. Da-da-da-da-da. I kept doing that maybe 5-6 times. She's like, I don't get it. I was like, that's the X-Men enemy, and music. She's a mutant. I was freaking out. It was awesome. So that was my number one. I'm so pumped that they did this. It's a very risky thing to do, and I totally acknowledge that because you have hardcore comic fans like me, or like she's an Inhuman. But like for me, it works for me, and I'm fine with it as long as, like I said, she's not part of the X-Men. Then I don't care.
No, she's gonna be part of the Marvels.
One or two team ups wouldn't hurt, but keep her separate. She's fine being a mutant. I don't care about that part. But no, that's my number one. So now you'll do your number one, and then I'll jump back to my number two.
My number one is the conversation with Yusuf at the end, where she gets her name.
Excellent.
And it was such a beautiful moment. And there was something Yusuf said also. He had a very, like, nice quote that I forget what it was. But going through, like, oh, how we wanted another child, we tried. And then you came along. We called you Kamala, what did it mean what was it before he started?
Perfect, I think, right?
It meant perfect, yes, perfect in one language, but then in Urdu, it meant Marvel. And she was like, yes, you're our own little Miss Marvel. And I thought that was just such a cute moment, and it really worked because all of Kamala's character development is based around family, fitting in, and kind of accepting who she is. And it was such a good way to set who she is right off the bat. Yusuf was really the comeback play, or he was always great, but he was really like the MVP runner-up next to Kamala this whole season.
So my number one is the family aspect of Miss Marvel becoming Miss Marvel. So it goes in two parts. So it's actually combining 2 years. So the fact that the mom made the costume, I love that. I love that she's the one that picked up that broken bangle necklace and saw that little line, that little lightning bolt thingy. And that's what gave her the inspiration to make the costume. And I thought that was great because in episode 1, she makes those costumes for Big Hulk, Little Hulk, for the dad and her. And now when Kamala obviously didn't like those styles because it was very much a cultured style of Hulk, she's like, okay, no, but I'm going to make my daughter something so that way she can hide her identity and look powerful and strong because she is. And it's based off the colors of her favorite superhero. So I thought that was really great that the mom got to do that. And then going off with the name is that the dad essentially gave her the name of Miss Marvel, and that's what she started. I love that the parents got to be involved in that because they obviously know her. They know the powers. She's obviously in that weird teenage years where you hate your parents, you love your parents. You hate your parents, you love your parents. They annoy you. It's great, yeah. So to have them like those moments of like the anger that she felt toward them, and like not even anger, but just like, oh my god, my freaking parents. To like this like sweet moments one-on-one with each parent was great. And the look of Yusuf when Kamala runs off with her powers, and he just goes magic. That look, that delivery was beautiful. So I love that the family aspect really encapsulated Kamala becoming instead of Nightlight Miss Marvel. It was really great, really special, especially because the family is so important. Not only in Kamala's culture, but just in the show in general. So I adored both of them. I know this is probably cheesy to say, like, oh, this is how you got your name because it meant Marvel kind of thing. And oh, I made you your costume, but it did it for me. It was great. So that was my number 2. Which was your number 1?
He didn't really like. I think he like kind of came to it like, oh, it means Marvel in this. Like they were going based around the perfect.
Then, no, I know, I know. But then you have that, and then she's like, "I'm named after Carol Danvers." Like that was everything.
Yeah, because that's exactly what her mind would go to.
I think you could easily have made that cheesier than it was, but
absolutely,
some people might have thought that was cheesy. I loved every moment of it, especially where we've seen her relationship with the characters. It was great. I love the show. I love it.
It was great.
Do we want my ranking of where it lies on Phase 4? Because I'm done ranking everything right now.
Give us the number. Let's hear it.
This is Phase 4 only. I stopped ranking all the Marvel stuff because I want to do a rewatch. On Phase 4, this is number 8.
Okay. Solid.
You want to know what's ahead of it?
Sure. I know you want to tell me.
Yeah, I do. Number 1, No Way Home. Number 2, Loki. Number 3, WandaVision. Number 4, Shang-Chi. Number 5, Thor, Love and Thunder. Number 6, Moon Knight. Number 7, Hawkeye. Number 8, Miss Marvel.
I think this was better than Shang-Chi.
I love Shang-Chi.
In my opinion.
Love Shang-Chi.
I have to start ranking.
You really should. I want to do a scoring system, but I think that's it. You did yours, right?
I think that's it. We did it.
Top 5. Miss Marvel is done. I'm so pumped for the Marvels movie. I'm pumped. We're probably going to get, I'm hoping, a season 2 of Miss Marvel, especially because they've been really big on saying season finale, not series finale, anything like that. Iman was awesome.
I am hoping She-Hulk has better CGI. Not getting my hopes up, but we'll see. Yeah,
that's the next show we're going to talk about for Marvel. It's going to be She-Hulk Attorney at Law. But Cliff, where can people reach out to you if they want to talk to you about Miss Marvel? Get ready for She-Hulk. We're going to do a couple of She-Hulk prep episodes too. Where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at CPRobinson81.
And you can find me at CamRamos95. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Stream the Mouse. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Streaming with the Mouse. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and our YouTube channel. Be sure to search for Streaming with the Mouse, Disney Plus podcast. And when you're there, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, all the above, so we can get more listeners on this. Because we got a lot of cool stuff talking about. I already mentioned we got She-Hulk coming up. We got Andor coming up. We got some good stuff. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Bring in some special guests as well to talk more about this stuff. Our friends who love to nerd out with us too. And really just thank you all for following. I know this has been a little wonky, a lot on me because I've been busy that we haven't been able to do as consistent Miss Marvel. So I apologize for that. But I am glad we got to have the conversations we did have about this. So thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back next week where we will be talking about all the news from Star Wars Celebration 85 months ago. But we're excited to talk about that.
Finally.
And yeah, it's going to be a great time. So thanks everybody for listening. Have a magical day.
Bye, guys.